Misinformation is a dangerous problem. It affects us in more ways than we can possibly imagine. It embodies ignorance, anger, and outrage, and it's not stopping anytime soon. However, there's a pushback to this problem, and it could be a very pricey one. But before we get into that, hit that thumbs up button to let YouTube know that you enjoy this content, and support today's sponsor, shopwcbs.com. You know, it's summertime, it's getting hotter, but you have to wear something out in public, so why not wear something with style and class? World class, that is. So go to shopwcbs.com and get yourself an official WCBS t-shirt. There are dozens of choices designed by me, and all of our shirts are shipped and printed through Teespring, so you get their customer service, support, as well as the high quality each of their t-shirt carries. So go to shopwcbs.com right now to grab one of those, and since it's summer and it's so damn hot out, you might want something cool to drink. So why not drink that cool beverage out of an official WCBS pint glass? When you do, you'll become the 5th bullshitter. You can crack a cold one with us and spend your summer watching all the new World Class Bullshitters content coming your way, including the return of good morning pop culture. So folks, you can click on those links below, get yourself an official WCBS piece of glassware, wear the t-shirt, and hang out with us all summer long. And now, back to the video. The backlash against Netflix's Queen Cleopatra continues to worsen, much to the joy of those people who don't have their heads up their asses. Last month, Netflix released Queen Cleopatra, a piece of historical fiction masquerading around as a documentary. The issue? Casting Cleopatra as a black woman, then promoting it that it doesn't matter what you're taught in school. Cleopatra was black, even if the historical account says otherwise. This ignorance outraged everyone. The producers of the show were quick to point the finger at racism and something called misogynoir, which is the hatred of black women. The star of the show, Adele James, would then take to the radio to belittle those who criticized the show, saying, "The response from the Egyptian people was 100% fundamentally rooted in racism, which is a very modern ideology." Well, of course, this worsened the situation. After the show was released, thousands of people voiced their displeasure, and the show is garnering one of the worst scores in the history of Rotten Tomatoes. After all this, the Egyptians are striking back, and it could be very costly for those involved with altering history. An Egyptian team consisting of several jurists and archaeologists demand financial compensation worth $2 billion from Netflix for distorting the image of Queen Cleopatra and ancient Egyptian civilization. A letter submitted by the team to UNESCO stated that Egypt has the right to an initial compensation of $2 billion for distorting the Egyptian identity. The letter said Egypt also has the right to take legal measures to preserve the tangible and intangible Egyptian heritage, whether ancient or modern. Netflix aired a controversial documentary film about Queen Cleopatra VII, where an ancient Egyptian queen was represented as black, backing Afrocentric claims that the ancient Egyptian civilization was of black origin. Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass said that during one of his lectures in Los Angeles, he was protested by people objecting to his refusal to consider Queen Cleopatra black. They carried banners with slogans against him, he said, adding that they had fallen to false information. During a phone interview with Cairo talk show host on the Cairo and People channel, Hawass stressed that we are not against blacks, and if the same situation had happened with the continent of Asia, I would object to them. He emphasized that Cleopatra was burgundy in color and not dark-skinned, and that this fallacy was bought into by African Americans. Hawass pointed that our film, which was released about Cleopatra, also received international attention, and this film resonated strongly to the whole world. Legal advisor and attorney of culture minister Assam Khalaf submitted a complaint with the public prosecution against the Netflix platform in Egypt for committing several violations due to the release of the documentary Queen Cleopatra. Khalaf demanded that the movie be cancelled from Netflix's platform and permanently prevented from being shown. In his lawsuit, Khalaf accused the platform of allowing the series to be shown without obtaining approvals for reviewing the artistic ideas and the way it is embodied, not obtaining the approval of the Antiquities and Culture Ministries regarding the embodiment of historical Egyptian figures, and not obtaining a permit to film works containing archaeological features in Egypt. I didn't realize it went that deep. Egyptian lawyer Mahmoud Al-Samari previously filed a case with the public prosecutor to shut down the Netflix platform in Egypt following the trailer release of Queen Cleopatra. The Egyptian lawyer has demanded that serious legal action be taken against those responsible for making the documentary. He blamed the Netflix management team for its participation in this crime. The documentary has received the worst audience rating ever in TV show history on Rotten Tomatoes. According to a Forbes report, the series got a 1% audience approval rate due to the great turnout of Egyptians to express their anger at this falsification of history, Forbes reported. It's safe to say Egypt was very unhappy with this documentary. While some may laugh it off, some parts of the world take their history very seriously. Over the past few years, history has been rewritten to remove some unsavory elements as not to offend. Yes, I'm just as confused as you are. There's also a push to make historical figures racist, bigots, the same things they call you on Twitter for not liking the newest Disney movie. In the UK, Winston Churchill has been called that by modern-day scholars. The core of the outrage is Netflix lying. They claim that this is a documentary, when in reality it's pseudo-history, which is a form of pseudo-scholarship that attempts to distort or represent the historical record, often by employing methods resembling those used in scholarly history research. Pseudo-history is related to pseudo-science and pseudo-archaeology, and the usage of the term may occasionally overlap. Although pseudo-history comes in many forms, scholars have identified many features that tend to be in common. One example is that the use of pseudo-history is almost always motivated by contemporary political, religious, or personal agendas. Works of pseudo-history often point exclusively to unreliable sources, including myths and legend, often treated as literal historical truth, to support the thesis being promoted while ignoring valid sources that contradict it. Sometimes a work of pseudo-history will adopt a position of historical relativism, insisting that there is really no such thing as historical truth, that any hypothesis is just as good as any other. Many works of pseudo-history conflate the mere possibility with actuality, assuming that if something could have happened, then it did. So when you make something that features a line about not caring what they taught you in school, that's pseudo-history, and promoting it as a documentary, that's not pseudo-truth, but an outright lie. The numbers on Rotten Tomatoes keep telling the same story. With over 10,000 reviews, most of them half-star ratings, Queen Cleopatra will forever be known as fantasy prancing around as history. It's nice to know that not everyone on this planet has lost their goddamn mind. So folks, what do you think about this? This is an example of race swapping that we talk about in all these movies going wrong. They can change the Little Mermaid, but you're a racist if you say anything. But now they're trying to change historical figures, and well, the buck stops here, to the tune of $2 billion of those bucks. I don't think the lawsuit's gonna go anywhere, and if it does, I don't think Netflix is gonna even care. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, but at the end of the day, I don't think it'll be anything. But the important part of this is the fact that people don't like this. There's pushback to race swapping, gender swapping, all of these things. If it's history, it's history. You don't get to rewrite it because it feels good, it feels right. No, it's just wrong. Facts are facts, opinions are opinions, and like we said earlier, pseudo-history is just that, pseudo. The outrage is justified because if you teach generations of people these false things, well then they're going to think that's the truth, and anything against that, well, they're going to feel angry or confused, and yes, I know people don't like being lied to, but the truth is more important than their feelings. So folks, I want to know what you think about all of this down in the comments below. 3 questions for today. 1, what did you think of the initial response to Queen Cleopatra telling you it doesn't matter what you're taught in school, she's black? 2, what do you think of the Egyptian response to this? And 3, have you watched it on Netflix? We haven't, and we're never going to, because that level of ignorance does not belong here at World Class Bullshitters. So folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more, but in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry because there's more, a lot more from World Class Bullshitters, and there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from World Class Bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on World Class Bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from World Class Bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of World Class Bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.